Crypto holders, if you are holding altcoins in this market, you need to see this because altcoins are doing something really, really crazy right now. So I want to talk a little bit about that today, as well as both XLM and HBAR specifically, because of course, while all altcoins are doing really well, XLM and HBAR are in a complete league of their own doing some really wild stuff. So I want to talk about that as well. We're going to go over all of that in today's video. So let's go on ahead. We'll get started. And first off, we will take a look at BTCC and what we are seeing here on the Ethereum chart. Now, I want to take a look at the Ethereum chart specifically, if it will load up, because we are seeing this really interesting off of Ethereum. Now, we've talked several times about how breaking the 3,000 mark is going to be super, super essential. We can see we've made a really, really nice move over the past couple of weeks, breaking up into this 3,000 range. We have now been rejected 3 times, though, getting up into this 3,000 range. However, I think it's really important to note if we go really, really close in here and zoom in, we're going to see a couple of different things that are quite important that I do talk about fairly frequently on the channel, which is we've been outside of these Bollinger Bands for several days now, and we are finally starting to pull back within the Bollinger Bands, which in my opinion does indicate that we are getting a little bit more space to potentially continue a move up. We are also maybe starting to see a little bit of the cooling down of the RSI. As I usually do mention, when you are seeing RSI overextended, as well as the Bollinger Band, you need to figure out kind of, where is price going to go. It can be a very, very dangerous time to be getting right in. Now, of course, right now, we aren't actually seeing Ethereum retrace at all. We're seeing it kind of having a little bit of volatility in this area. We're not necessarily seeing it retrace per se. We're mainly more just kind of chopping around, giving us a little bit of some time to hopefully continue a move back to the upside. So that is what we are going to be looking for specifically. We'll go into both Bitcoin as well, because and then we'll talk about XLM and HBAR, because those are just absolutely insane. But I want to talk about Bitcoin because the reason why this is important is because we start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin does well, hopefully, and then we go into Ethereum. Ethereum does well, hopefully, and then we start to see a better move coming out of alts kind of wholesale. So if we look at Bitcoin, we're seeing something very similar. Overextended on RSI, overextended on Bollinger Bands as well currently, right? So what we can see here is we hopefully can start to see a little bit of some consolidation. I mean, continued moves to the upside would be fantastic. It's just usually at this point in time, this is kind of a risky time to be entering a position because it is showing you in multiple different places that we are seeing a little bit of some overextension coming off of the Bitcoin chart. We can see here, we are now in our 4th day of being pushed outside of the Bollinger Bands here. So this is, like I said, a little risky. We can even see right now that price momentum has kind of started to slow because we are so overextended. I do think, or I'm hopeful, and I think it's possible, just given kind of the momentum that we've seen recently, that we won't really see much of a retrace. We'll probably just see some bouncing and consolidating, and then hopefully another move back to the upside is kind of what I would expect. That would give some time for RSI to consolidate as well. So that's kind of what we're seeing out of Bitcoin. Of course, a textbook break outside of this descending channel here. We've done really well and seen some really impressive moves here. Going back, I want to take just a super quick look at the crypto bubbles as well, because we can see off the crypto bubbles, as I mentioned, just everything doing absolutely wonderfully. The day green, the week super green, and then the month starting to turn more green. We were looking at this a couple days ago and it was looking a little shaky, but we are seeing that it is slowly starting to flip because we are seeing sustained periods of green, not just, kind of a day here or there like it was a couple days back. So things are starting to look really, really good for that perspective. If we look on the month, we can see Bitcoin up 12%. And this is obviously showing that we're seeing Bitcoin kind of massively outperform alts. We, of course, do have alts kind of here and there, kind of above that 12% mark. But a lot of the bigger alts we are seeing kind of in that 12 to 15% range. So Bitcoin has kind of been keeping up with pace of the rest of the alts. And so that is something that we would expect to kind of maybe transition a little bit as we start to see some of these smaller alts do well, namely Ethereum kind of kicking us off. So that's why we started with the Ethereum chart, is because we could see that Ethereum is showing some great momentum, but it hasn't quite seen some of the momentum we've seen out of other coins at this point in time, which is okay. It's just something that we need to think about and be considerate of. Next, I want to take a look at the total to market cap, because we have talked about this a couple of times. And I did want to give a quick update here to show you kind of what we're seeing here. And what we are seeing here is we are firmly in this zone of high liquidity. You can see we've been chopping around in multiple different directions here, as I kind of expected was possible. Ideally, what we want to see is we want to see it continue to break out over this zone of high liquidity, and we can see it continue to move up into this overall positive zone, right? Again, all eyes remain on this $1.7 trillion mark, because this $1.7 trillion mark is the all-time high for altcoins. So if we see this, really, really good news. If we don't see this break, of course, we're just going to kind of be chopping around, and we really are not going to see an alt season until we see this level break, is kind of my opinion here. So we'll have to see what happens, but overall, I'm pretty pleased with how things have been looking so far. Now, I did want to do a little bit of a transition to talk about XLM and HBAR specifically. Let's start with XLM. We've seen just some absolutely ridiculous moves. I did make an XLM video a couple days back, and we were talking about just some of the insane momentum that we have seen from it. I am going to pull this chart up, and we can see, I mean, this thing's just not stopping. It's going fully parabolic, which is crazy, up almost to 47 cents. If we back out a little bit, you can see the highs that we have seen kind of being hit back in December. We're not quite there yet, but we are making similar types of moves. Just absolutely insane moves coming to the upside. We've fully broken very clearly outside of this descending trend line. And so now, right now, we'll just have to see. We are kind of running back up into this level of resistance, kind of up at this 51 cent range is kind of the main peaks that we saw. But you can see down at this 49 cent and even some down in this like 48 cent range, which we have actually reached up to. So we'll have to see exactly where we go from here, but things are looking really, really nice from this point in time. Now, we are going to see something very similar from HBAR, but I did want to take a quick look at XLM just before we move over to HBAR, because you can see this is something very, very similar. Now, we have seen that we are now on the 5th successive day of being outside of the Bollinger Bands, and the Bollinger Bands are moving fast. They just can't keep up. And we are also seeing the RSI, we're almost at a 90. So we are well outside of overbought. Things are looking pretty crazy. Now, I'm not saying that XLM is going to retrace immediately. I'm not going to say that it is on its way down, anything like that. We could continue to see this move all the way back up. We haven't even reached previous all-time highs yet. So it is entirely possible that we do get there. However, just historically, when you see both of these flashing, it is generally a quite dangerous time to be getting into a trade. That doesn't mean it can't continue to go up. That doesn't mean it won't continue to go up. But it does have an added level of risk when you see this type of thing happening. So I just want to call this out and show you that this is while the movement has been fantastic, if you're looking to enter into the XLM trade, maybe not the best time to be starting a position right now. In my opinion, this would be the time to be looking at cutting positions, and then from there, potentially that we can look to re-add after that. So that is the other thing that I wanted to take a quick look at. The next thing I want to take a look at here, as I mentioned, was HBAR. Now, while I get HBAR pulled up, if you are interested in making any trades with XLM, HBAR, Ethereum, Bitcoin, anything like that, feel free to use BTCC. I do have the link to that description, or the link to that exchange, in the description below. If you are interested, they're a fantastic exchange. They do a really great job. It's easy to trade. They've got leverage, all sorts of leverage flexibilities if you are, depending on what you're looking for, as well as a 10% bonus on first-time deposits and up to $10,055 in trading bonuses, along with no VPN or KYC necessary. So they're a really, really solid exchange. And if you are interested, just feel free to check the link in the description below. Now, moving on, you can see here, very, very similar situation with HBAR. We are seeing a breakout, not quite in the same magnitude as we are seeing from XLM, but it's very much the same type of thing. A really, really strong move back to the upside here. A full and clear break of this descending trend line, which is great to see. And we can also see RSI at an 82. So not as overbought as XLM, but still a really, really strong move. And then we are seeing this is now the fourth day outside of the Bollinger Bands here, being overextended to the upside. So again, same type of thing. If you are looking to start a position in HBAR, this is a very risky time to do so. That is not to say that we cannot go immediately straight to $1. It's not to say that it's going to go down 20% tomorrow or anything like that. It could continue to go straight up. We just don't know. This is just, again, talking risk reward, generally a little bit higher risk time to get there. So if you are interested in and potentially starting an HBAR position, maybe this is something that you should be considering, maybe adding to the watch list and kind of waiting over a period of time to kind of see how that ends up working out for you and how the whole trade evolves. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. I personally am really, really interested in seeing kind of where the alt season and where the alt market is developing. It's looking really, really nice. If you ask me, I'm quite pleased with how things have been going so far. So if you are interested, like, subscribe, do all that type of stuff. You can continue to follow for more content. I am kind of continually staying up to date with the altcoin market and alt season potentially, as well as Bitcoin and everything and all things crypto. So if you are interested, like I said, like, subscribe, all that type of good stuff, as well as if you do have any comments, questions, anything like that, just leave those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that would be a great way to do so. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.